Hit the button.
Yeah, 7:32. Sorry, guys, but we're here, yo. We're here. Looks like there's 3 people watching already. I'm gonna give y'all a couple more minutes to get some more people in the chat, because as cool as the Firearms Friday stinger is, it's a little shorter than our usual stinger. Also, I want to look up this chick. Because what we've clearly got going in here is an ambitious prosecutor trying to make a name for herself.
Oh, Steve says going to the probate court to renew his permit after the show. My permit is actually up for renewal in January.
I think mine is up at the end of 24.
Theoretically, I could renew mine now, 60 days. I think it's 60 days early.
Mm-hmm.
But meet Karen. Yeah, it's yeah.
Isn't that hilarious that the bitch is a Karen? I want to see. Oh yeah, Trish says she can hear us, but she can't see us. That's because the show hadn't started yet. We're just kind of messing around with stuff. Let's do this. Dad, I'm going to assume that you mean we should celebrate concealed carry permits like the 4th of July and not we should celebrate the Chinese Communist Party like the 4th of July. Although, I could definitely see launching a 4th of July on the CCP. But yeah, we should treat it like a birthday. Every time we have to renew our CCP, hell, every time we buy a new gun, we should throw a barbecue.
See, but birthdays are a celebration. CCP is
yeah, it's.
I mean, yeah, no.
It's kind of like celebrating any other grievous and unconstitutional violation of your individual rights. Yep, Steve, we should not have to buy back rights. You're 100% correct. And wow, this wasn't a topic I intended to go into, and we're not going to go down this rabbit hole very far. But this is one that we could probably do a whole show on. If I had my way, there would be no licenses. There is no such thing as a license, which is not the government has taken a right away from you, which it is forbidden to take from you, and then offered to sell it back to you. That includes the license to practice medicine or the law. Amen.
Or insurance. Have a little bit of experience
Real
with that
estate.
one. I have some in pest control. Yep. Have experience with that one. It's actually shocking the amount of things that you need a license for. Like a lot of states require you have a license to cut hair.
I have a license to fly my drone.
And have thousands of hours of practice cutting hair before they'll give you the license to actually cut hair.
Yep.
And it's just like, methinks this might be a hustle.
Now, in all fairness, you don't actually have to have a license to fly a drone. You have to have a license to fly a drone commercially. But
well, yeah,
you have to have a license to get paid to fly a drone.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of things you don't have to have a license for if you don't care about getting paid or doing it legally. Like this.
Well, no, I mean, fair distinction. It is not illegal to fly a drone without a license. It is illegal to fly a drone and get paid to fly it without a license.
No, but that's anyhow.
But I wonder if I could practice law for pro bono without a license.
Probably not. Probably not. Okay, so
we told y'all we were going to talk about this.
Been teasing it all week, so here we go.
Let's talk about this. You want to read the article? Here, hold on. I'm gonna zoom us in a little bit.
Actually, zoom the article in, not us.
Well, yeah.
Okay. The parents of a teen accused of fatally shooting 4 people at a Michigan high school have been charged.
Real quick, update. They have been arrested.
I know. Okay. The parents of a teen accused of fatally shooting 4 people at a Michigan high school have been charged in connection with the rampage. James and Jennifer Crumbly were each charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. On Saturday, they pleaded not guilty to the charges. The county prosecutor, Karen McDonald,
The bitch is a Karen.
announced the charges against the couple on Friday, saying that they failed to prevent the tragedy and allowed their son to have access to the gun he used in the shooting. While the shooter was the one who entered the high school and pulled the trigger, there are other individuals who contributed to the events on November 30th, and it's my intention to hold them accountable as well, McDonald said in a news conference.
Okay, quick question. Can we prosecute the governors of every state and the mayors of every city where BLM riots occurred? And I use that example very, very intentionally and specifically, not just for the obvious political bias that I carry, but more importantly, we're talking about people who had a very clear opportunity to prevent the activities which occurred. Not just they had the authority to deploy National Guard or to use their state and local law enforcement, but the President of the United States made clear overtures and offers to render aid in what was clearly a very serious situation, and these governors and mayors explicitly refused and even went so far as to decline to arrest or prosecute people who were committing these crimes which included arson and murder. Can we prosecute those people for failing to prevent the crimes? Now, I'm not even suggesting we should, because if my plant dies, it is not the Queen of England's fault for not watering it. Right? The sin of omissions argument.
Look, there's to your point, we don't even have to do a hypothetical, okay? There's two layers to this. I'm going to touch the first one and then we can circle back to it. Obviously, I think if you read between the lines, the reason why these arrests have happened is because this was a school shooting. If this kid had gone to his high school with, like, I don't know, a couple of gallons of gasoline and some barbed wire, tied all the doors together, and then lit the school on fire, he arguably would have killed way more people, done a lot more damage, but it wouldn't have been a gun, right? It was a gun. And so here's the other piece to this, okay? Let's just say for a second that the parents were irresponsible, that the kid should not have been in class. Okay. When are members of the school getting charged? We don't even have to take it to the hypothetical BLM stuff. If it was irresponsible for this kid to be in class, if it was irresponsible for this kid to have access to this firearm, and I do think it's possible to even make the argument that his parents were irresponsible. Okay, fine. Apparently, the school knew this kid was nuts, and you're not going to search his backpack. You're not going to give him some type of in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension or some type of intervention at all. You're just going to be like, oh, yeah, totally, just send him back to class. Because let's not forget, in particular, the young white male school shooter, they all seem to basically fantasize about shooting up the school. I mean, going all the way back to Columbine, people are like, well, it's not really that surprising because they used to talk about shooting up the school. And it seems to be a thing that when a disturbed individual says over and over again, God, I'd love to shoot up the school, there's at least a chance they're going to shoot up the school. So, yeah, so okay, fine. Let's just assume for a moment that it's okay to charge the parents. When are people in the school system going to get charged? I mean, I don't think they're gonna, because that's not the point. The point is this is a political, oh, woo-woo, your gun is bad, shame, shame.
Well, and it's not just the gun that's bad. It's that he's a white male. Just like we saw with the shooting it's almost a month ago now. There were all the articles, white supremacist, blah blah blah, and then it was like, oh no, it was a black male. Oh well, no more stories. We're not going to talk about that one.
And then there's the other side of it, where the kid's being charged with terrorism, but the Waukesha guy is not being charged with terrorism. His mom was a Trump supporter, okay? And look, apparently his parents did do some things that are irresponsible. Involuntary manslaughter irresponsible, though? I don't know, because let's say the kid had stole a car and led the police on a police chase, caused a crash, and in the course of that, committed felony murder. Are they responsible for involuntary manslaughter then? Because the kid stole the car and committed felony murder? I mean, up until about 25, 30 years ago, you could buy fertilizer that would do you some serious bombs. Just ask, not McVeigh, but Terry Nichols, or maybe it is Timothy McVeigh, but ask the Oklahoma City bomber, right? So it's not that difficult to cause mayhem. Psychopaths are going to psychopath, and bad guys are going to bad guy. It's just what they're going to do.
Now, for example, if they can't get a gun, then the love truck.
Yes. Yeah, in fact, that's another fantastic example.
Waka.
That guy, the racist black supremacist, couldn't really get a gun because he finally had like enough charges stacked up on top of him where like even walking inside a pawn shop he'd set off like alarms and stuff. So he said, screw it, I won't use a gun, I'll use a truck and I'll drive over a Christmas parade and injure dozens of people. Thanks for the correction, Steve. It is Nichols and McVeigh. Man, I should just trust my memory more often. Damn it.
And I just want to check something real quick.
But look, and I've followed a lot of the people that are on our side on YouTube because I've been really interested to hear what they had to say about how much culpability do the parents have. And there are some people on our side that think the parents have culpability. I heard one person make the argument that, you should pay attention to what's going on with your kid. And you should be willing to take steps on behalf of your child, even against your child, to act in your child's best interest and to act in the people that are in your child's orbit's best interest. And I generally agree with that. But again, it comes back to, okay, we're going to involve the law. And that's the thing. We're going to involve the law to arbitrate a right and a wrong. I thought the law was supposed to be about, justice and equity. Not equity, but indemnity. That's it. But now we're going to talk about the right and the wrong of it. You can think what these parents did was wrong. But does that mean that they're guilty of a crime? Like, anyhow, that's,
So, yeah, I think we can pretty easily come down on,
and it's being done because it's a gun.
Exactly.
That's exactly why it's being done. That mean, evil gun was used.
It's a gun and it's a white boy. If it were a gun and a black kid, you wouldn't hear the story. If it were any other weapon, you wouldn't hear the story.
Yeah, there was
unless maybe if it was a white guy, but it's a gun and a white guy. And
yeah, it fits that school shooting narrative. And his mom was a Trump supporter.
They need you to believe. They need you to believe that the only crimes that happen are white guys with guns. That's the narrative. That's the story. It couldn't possibly be that a non-white guy armed himself with anything other than a gun to cause harm. Waukesha. I suspect the NRA will not help defend them, Sgt Major. I'm an NRA. I have a membership to the NRA. It's already paid for, so it's hard to just kind of quit it. Um, I am constantly disappointed by the NRA. As a member, I'm just going to start voting against bitches. So, let's move on to the next one. I don't want y'all to get too excited just yet. There is some reason to celebrate here, but don't get distracted. House passes 2022 NDAA with red flag law language removed. Okay, that it passed the NDAA is not great by itself for so many reasons. That the red flag law language was removed is a good thing.
It got removed this time. It's sort of like how they kept taking those shots at universal health care and then finally settled for Obamacare because they knew that Obamacare would eventually lead to...
Now, what I want you to remember is that the NDAA was voted on and passed the vote in the House with the support of many, many Republicans. Oh, roughly, I don't know, give or take exactly 135. And here are their names, right? Including some in our home state of Georgia, which is... And among these, we had, I forget what his name was. One of them came out and made a big deal on Twitter about, and it wasn't Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw was one of them that voted for this. But the argument was, we have to pass it
so we can
out of the House so that we can argue in committee to remove that red flag language. No, you don't. You can vote it down and hold your position and remind the enemy that we do not have to play the game on your terms. It's not that we're going to argue against red flag laws. It's that we will not tolerate you arguing against the Second Amendment to begin with, you commie pukes. 135 Republicans voted for this on the front end before they removed the red flag laws. Primary, everybody. You should think of the Republican Party not as your friends and allies at the gate of Thermopylae. You should think of them as the bodies that you are stacking against the oncoming enemy. That's the best you can think. That's the best you can say about our current slate of Republicans. They are like the fallen bodies of the oncoming enemy at the gates of Thermopylae, and you stack them to build a wall. Primary, everybody.
Yeah, and look, while we're at it, this is not strictly related, but it just bears repeating. Repeal all federal gun laws?
Yeah. And all gun laws. Repeal all gun laws. Federal, state, doesn't matter.
Well, Congress can only repeal the federal ones. Like, I just was trying to keep it the theme and tie together. But yeah, no, just repeal all gun laws. Like,
yeah, the Supreme Court can obliterate all gun laws. So the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, freedom of speech, restricted freedom of speech, freedom of press.
Right.
But the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, that means that individual states could do the things which the First Amendment prevents the federal government from doing under that language.
Right.
The Second Amendment has no such limitations. The Second Amendment very clearly says, shall not be infringed. And the word infringed means nothing in the law shall be even tangentially related to a restriction of your right to keep and bear arms.
And yeah, I mean, like, in all seriousness, we're saying, like, for example, that once felons complete their sentence, they should be allowed to own a gun. Like, at some point, you've paid the debt to society. Okay, we're not talking about giving crazy people guns, but Tom Morello made a joke some time ago, and it's actually resurfaced, and it was sort of a joke, but it was also an interesting thought experiment, and Tom Morello said, arm the homeless. And this is like a, you know, Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, Tom Morello. However, I don't entirely disagree with the concept of arming the homeless, because, okay, let's just accept that they're the most shit-on members of society, because they're homeless. Well, you know, being armed is not a bad idea. Are we being trolled by Bolo Toho?
Hey, dude, I just banned somebody, but he was trying to sell me leads.
No, that's not what I mean. I'm talking about.
But the Bolo Toho, I'm assuming that Bolo Toho is.
That's got to be like some next level sarcasm. All guns should be banned so people can't shoot
I'm assuming
each other.
he's trying to be funny, because I'm just, if he were dumb enough to believe what he's posting, he wouldn't be able to operate that computer.
Not all of it, but most. Okay, maybe Boho Tolo doesn't is not being sarcastic. They are, in fact.
Sgt Major. That's the smartest thing I've heard all day. Would it be wonderful if nobody could shoot each other? No, it wouldn't be wonderful.
Because they could still.
What do you do about rape in progress? What do you do about terrorists that hunt and mutilate children?
Well, not only that, but I mean,
these are the kinds of people I've shot. That's what shooting people is for.
Okay, just you realize, if you look at the sum total of the world's history, we actually live in a time of peace. Yes, there are armed conflicts going on right now, and yes, the US of A is even involved in some of those armed conflicts. But if you look at the total state of war and the total state of peace, the world is the most peaceful now than it's ever been throughout all of recorded history, with maybe a few exceptions here and there, okay? But war and murder and famine and, like, burning your whole village to the ground and, you know, just what them peaceful Indians did to each other before the evil white man showed up will scare the hell out of you if you really read about it. Like, it's, woo! Anyhow.
Okay, and this is going to be the last thing I say to address Bolo Toho. Wow. Clearly you haven't spent much time with terrorists. It was my job. I can tell you, sweetheart, actual terrorists are a very serious and real problem. And the correct solution is to kill them. Then his point here, just because the solution isn't perfect doesn't mean it's useless. That is a fair argument in many cases. But in the case that you're describing, what you fail to understand, look at the gun-free zone situation. Look at, I don't know, it's illegal for somebody to own a firearm in Afghanistan. How many people do you think that prevents from owning a firearm? I'll tell you. Exactly none of the ones that you would want to disarm with that law. And that is the case absolutely everywhere and without exception. If you are not lawfully allowed to own a firearm in the place where you live, if the law prevents it, then I guarantee you that every single person that you wanted to not have a firearm as a result of that law still has one. And every single person that you would prefer to have armed has been disarmed. That is the result of firearms control laws without exception. And I will take just a moment and turn your eyes to the quarantine situation in Australia. That is what comes of an unarmed populace. It's happening to a lesser degree everywhere else, including in the United States in the least armed places in America. And what you will find is the more armed the citizenry, the lower the crime, and the freer the people. Everywhere without exception.
Oh, see, that's why I was bringing up the whole thing about how if you look at the sum total of world history, we're in a time of peace, not a time of war. There's also more guns in existence, not just in the United States, but in the entire world. Like this, I think you're going to know what I mean when I say this, but I'm fine with arming the Afghanis because they're either, they're either going to continue to be dumb Afghans, and what are you going to do? Or some of them are going to, sack up and do the right thing, and they're going to need guns to do that. Either way, like, I think all human beings have a fundamental right to be armed, because how can you protect yourself? And I don't just mean from other people. Like, it wasn't that long ago where, like, wolves and bears and shit were enough to ruin your day. And guns were pretty good for that kind of thing.
Okay, let me hit you with something real quick. Let me hit you with something special real quick. I took the day off today.
Okay.
How much free time have you got? Because I'll go another half hour. If you're down.
I need more coffee.
Okay. I tell you what. How about we go to commercial?
Do we have commercials?
We can go to commercial. We can go get more coffee and come right back. Y'all good with that? We'll go to commercial. We'll come right back. We'll talk a little more. We'll come back with more coffee, and
I'm just gonna get coffee.
You might you might have to give me a second. I don't know if I've actually got any if I've got the commercials loaded or if I have to pull one in real quick. I may have to pull one in. I do. It'll just take a second. Okay, I'm going to hit y'all with guys, I may not know where I put my flipping commercials. Well, Cameron's got the coffee.
See, this is why it's just have a coffee pot down here, my man.
I'd love to. We might we might have to think about that. Here, I tell you what. Y'all enjoy. Oh, damn, it's not there. Y'all? This is not going as well as I had intended it to.
Look, it's fine. We have coffee now. We don't actually have to go to the commercial.
Well, I have to pee, so you keep talking. You keep talking. I was going to address...
Look, I'll go back through and answer some of these comments. You go do what needs doing. Okay. All right. So, going back to Bolo Toho, let's go back to Afghanistan has a problem of law enforcement when it comes to firearms. We're going to go ahead and tie that into this should be tracked by professionals, not ordinary citizens. Okay. Bolo, your problem with that is that when you trust the government, like the state already essentially has a monopoly on violence. That's kind of the compromise we've made for civilization. And the state also has a tendency to be inherently corrupt. And I don't know if you've noticed, but Afghanistan has a tendency to be one of the most corrupt places, kind of in the world. Like, that place has been a bizarre, difficult to deal with hellhole for, like, centuries. Literally. Okay? So, if the professionals aren't doing their job, the solution is not to not have the citizenry be armed. Okay? Kate says the U.S. population is over 330 million and around 800,000 law enforcement officers. What's your point?
The law enforcement officer. Did you cover the Gonzales and Castle Rock verdict?
No, I'm going. I was just going through.
Okay, so the idea of professionals of handling things like home invasions, this should be tackled by professionals, not ordinary citizens. Not only are the police, the professionals that you're referencing here, Bolo Toho, inadequate to the job, because when seconds count, they're minutes away. Okay, somebody's breaking in your home with a firearm, and you're going to call someone who's not there to come and help you. Good luck. They're at least several minutes away. And I can tell you this, unless you are dug in like a tick with a fire team, gunfights are fast, especially if one of you's not armed. And the other piece of this that you have to remember is Gonzalez versus Castle Rock. The Supreme Court has made it very, very abundantly clear that the police have no duty, no lawful obligation to interfere in a crime in progress or to protect citizens from crime in occurrence. The police are not there to protect you. The law is not on your side there. If the police decide that they don't want to protect you for whatever reason, the Supreme Court has ruled that that is, in fact, the state of the law. They're not required to do so. The only thing they're required to do is to conduct investigations and apprehend criminals on grounds of reasonable articulable suspicion or probable cause for prosecution to determine punishment and consequences. They are in no way required to interfere to prevent crime.
Okay, so
in fact, in the Gonzalez versus Castle Rock case, one of the other pieces there, which is especially troubling, is not only are they not required to interfere and protect citizens, because they are not required to interfere and protect citizens, by so doing, they can actually open themselves up to litigation if harm befalls the citizen as a result of the policeman's actions. They have not only no legal obligation to do so, but they have a direct personal fiduciary incentive to avoid risking their own careers and their own assets in your defense.
Okay, so Bolo Toho says if you try and protect yourself and your family using firearms, you have a higher chance to die than if you don't.
That may be true for you, but if that's the case, if you find that that's the case for you, then my recommendation is go on back to the range, sweetheart.
Well,
if that's true, you're just inadequate.
Well, no, what I was going to get to is that's one of those many myths. Look, you caught us at a strange time there, Bohola. I get the feeling you're a first time viewer. Normally Fridays, we do defensive gun use stories, and we even deliberately restrict what we count as a successful defensive gun use story because there are so many instances of defensive gun use. They're just not reported because they're not sexy. They don't fit a narrative. The narrative is the kind of thing that you're talking about, that guns are bad, that they contribute to violence, that they make things worse, that whenever guns are present, people are more likely to have X, Y, and Z bad thing happen to them. When in reality, that's just not the case. Like, for example,
yeah, the claim that you're statistically more likely to be killed with your own weapon is absolutely false.
So, like, the often maligned AR-15, for example, is only responsible for maybe a few hundred gun fatalities a year, like, period. If you really want to attack the problem by attacking the gun itself, you basically have to go after the entire class of 9mm weapon. Because
there's a reason gangsters talk about their 9s and not their 15s.
Exactly, because the 9mm is concealable, holds a lot of ammunition, and yeah, I mean it is what it is, right? But that's not what.
It's what my wife would carry if she carried a weapon.
If. So.
But we lost all our guns in a lake accident, boating accident.
I lost all my guns in a divorce accident.
I saw a lot of that, man. There was no accident.
Stop. Stop.
Sorry.
That has to stop right there.
I know.
Okay, thank you. Anyhow.
Bitch.
Stop. Dude, stop.
I know.
Anyhow. Okay, so he says he agrees about the 9mm. The point is not to get rid of the 9mm, okay? The point is all of the narratives about gun control, like, for example, the gun show loophole.
Liars.
There's no such thing as a gun show loophole. A straw purchase is already illegal. As in, if I go buy a firearm for somebody who is not legally able to purchase a gun themselves, and then...
I'm just going to throw a quick badge there for the ammosexuals comment.
So if I go buy a gun for somebody that is not legally able to buy a gun themselves, say at a gun show, that's already illegal. There's no loophole, okay? And basically every single one of those statistics, oh, if you have a gun in the home, you're more likely to be killed by the gun, and there's all the stuff about, like, domestic violence. Oh, well, you know, an abuser's more likely to... I happen to know one guy that committed a murder, and dude was, like, nuts, okay? It worked with him, and I was the only one at work. It was like, something's off about that guy, and because I'm me and have a big mouth, they just thought I was running my big mouth, and then, boy, did I get proven right. He didn't kill his family with a gun. And that's not to say that people don't kill their families with guns. It's just my personal anecdotal experience says that he didn't kill his family with a gun. And he owned a gun, and he didn't kill his family with a gun. So all of those stats that you hear are either flat out lies, or there are other pieces to them. Like, for example, when they say, oh, you know, there are 30,000 gun deaths a year in the country. Well, they're including things like suicide. And, yeah, technically, if you kill yourself with a gun, that is a gun death. But that's not exactly what you think about when you think about gun deaths. And then when you say, well, people are less likely to kill themselves if they don't have a gun. Robin Williams and Anthony Bourdain both hung themselves?
Yep.
You know? Like... So, look, we're glad you're here. Stick around, maybe you'll learn a few more things, we hope. But, all that stuff about, I can almost picture what Bolo is going to say. Like, he's going to hit us with the top 10 different things that you hear all the time about the gun myths.
So thus spake Zarathustra, great name, by the way. Any advice, guys? Absolutely. Go to a gun, there are lots and lots of gun stores and, at least in the South. Yeah. Gun stores with indoor ranges that have a rental program where you can go in and pay for your range time and you can rent a gun and just a little bit of ammo at a time. You know, go say, you know what, today I want to try on 9mm and buy a couple of boxes of 9mm ammunition, and you rent a 9mm, and then you rent another one, and then you rent another one, and then, you know, try the Beretta, try the Glock, try the Smith & Wesson, try the, you know, just go in and try those guns. And when you do it, you know, you can go in and just shoot by yourself, and as long as you're not a total idiot, you're safe just shooting on a range, right?
As long as you point the gun down range.
But you can almost certainly, in nearly all of those types of stores, there will be somebody who will take the time to at least give you a handful of pointers, or most likely even a professional trainer with a long history of experience. And Bolo Toho doesn't even live in the U.S., so you really need a gun. I don't care where you are. If you're not in the U.S., you desperately need firearms.
No, and look, Bolo Toho, don't back off your point. Don't just go, haha, just kidding. No, you meant what you said. You meant to present the arguments that you presented, and that's fine. Present them, but don't back off of it. Haha, just kidding. That's the... That's the coward's way out. Like, I'd rather you were just wrong and a flat-out asshole, whatever, but that, haha, just kidding, haha, haha, screw you, buddy.
Well, no, hold on a minute. I mean...
Holding on.
Yeah, maybe he's playing devil's advocate, and that's useful. And
okay, if he's playing devil's advocate, that's not haha, just kidding.
And Sgt Major says range time is more like golfing. Hooah. Okay, so let's go ahead. I've got 4 DGUs. Let's do this. You want to read the first one?
Sure.
I don't understand what's happening now.
Here we go.
There it is. Suddenly things weren't working correctly.
All right. Police say the 33-year-old pizza shop employee shoots would-be robber in Spring Garden. Police say the 33-year-old suspect was found after officers followed a trail of blood to a nearby SEPTA station.
What is a SEPTA station?
I guess we're going to find out from reading the article. A Philadelphia pizza shop employee shot an armed robbery suspect who had just targeted a nearby pharmacy minutes earlier, police say. Police say the series of incidents unfolded around 9:30 p.m. Thursday when 3 men robbed a CVS pharmacy at North Broad and Spring Garden in the Spring Garden section of the city. Moments later, police say at least one of the men went a block away to rob a pizza shop at 15th and Spring Garden. However, once inside, an employee of the pizza shop shot the would-be robber in the face. Oh my, that was a bad day. Officers responded to that shooting and say there was clearly a robbery, you think? There was some money on the floor, and there was also some broken glass inside the store. There was also a large amount of blood, said Philadelphia Police Chief Inspector Scott Small. Investigators say they followed a trail of blood down the stairs of a SEPTA subway station at Broad and Spring Garden. Police say that's where they found the 33-year-old male suspect. From following the trail of blood, we also found some cash in the subway where the victim was found, Small said. The suspect was rushed to an area hospital where he was placed in critical condition because he was shot in the face. According to police, surveillance video from the pharmacy matched the description of the injured subject. Not anymore! The man has not been identified. No other injuries were reported.
Okay, so it sounds like this one got away.
Yeah, but
he survived.
But again, I don't think this is BRM. Like, he got shot in the face.
You shot him in the face and he held up. We need we need the thing has been grim type of splash for that one.
No, or something where like God decided, because that's what this is. God decided. No, that one gets another chance.
This one should suffer longer. So I tell you what, I wish I had a gun when I was still working at Papa John's, but I think I was 19 when this happened. We had a guy come in with a knife, a freaking butcher knife, right? Come smashing, come charging in the front door with a butcher knife. Give me all your money. Empty that cash register, right? And all that crap. And it was a quick thing. He was in, and within about 30 seconds of him shouting, "Give me all your money, give me all your money," I grabbed a bubble fork. I grabbed the bubble fork off of the oven and chased him out the door with it. He ran away. We called the police. They couldn't find him. Never heard anything else about it. It was a quick incident. Would have been nice from behind the counter. It's not like he's going to jump over faster than I can draw down. Would have been way easier than chasing him with a bubble fork. But in fairness, the bubble fork, it's not the weapon you expected.
Okay. All right. There's something, the spake, it's Pake, not Spake, but whatever. But Zarathustra in the comments is asking, again, some other pretty common, kind of level 101 sort of things. Zarathustra's point is the whole thing about how the inadequacy of a man and all that, like you don't have a gun and you have a power fantasy. Like I could tell by the flavor of his comments. Like he says, how many hours do you spend time thinking about scenarios in which you would shoot someone, and does that spill over into your sleeping time? It's sort of like an umbrella,
Well, no, this is easy.
Finish.
Let
me finish. For me, it's sort of like an umbrella, or I don't know, a condom, or putting on my seatbelt every time I get in the car. I don't think about the fact that it may or may not rain constantly. I don't think about the fact that every time I get into my car, I could get into a car accident and die. I'm just prepared. I'm just being careful. That's all it is, buddy. That's all it is. I'd rather go my entire life carrying 10 guns, never need them, than just wish I had that one gun that one time for about 30 seconds. And I'm not looking at his comments. I'm just finishing my point, and then I'm going to shut up and let you make yours.
So the question.
Oh, that one again, where we reference guns and sex together.
It's adorable.
He's so original. Never heard that before, ever.
But how much time do you spend thinking about when you might have to shoot someone?
To be fair, I spend a lot of time thinking about sex.
To be fair, I've spent a lot of time thinking about when I might have to shoot someone, but I was a professional soldier for most of a decade. Spent time actively engaged in combat in a hostile environment, and I've shot a lot of people. It was part of the gig, and it was a mirror them type of situation. Usually when that happened. Usually. Sometimes it was you chopped up your last little girl, you son of a whore, and you get to suck dirt for the rest of eternity because... Gah! But, as far as thinking about scenarios in which you might need to shoot someone, I'll ask you this question. Have you learned any kind of first aid, CPR, anything like that? Because if you haven't, I question your value as a human being. Take a moment. Your body is your machine, right? Learn CPR, learn first aid for the same reason you learn how to do your own oil change and change the tires on your car. If you have a machine that you operate recreationally or professionally, know how to operate it. One of those machines that you have is the mere fact that you are alive. In a world that contains hazards, you take precautions against those hazards. You wear a seatbelt?
Yeah, and speaking of the seatbelt, it's funny that Zarathustra jumped on the condom thing, but didn't jump on the umbrella thing and didn't jump on the seatbelt thing. Jumped on the condom. And it's like, well, did you mention guns and sex, though, not me? Yeah, I also mentioned seatbelts and umbrellas, and you didn't reference those. And to be fair, guns are pretty phallic. Bolo, if guns make you think of penises, you need to take yours to a doctor and have him look at it.
If guns remind you of your penis, you need a new penis. So, moving on to the next one. I think we can get through these next three.
Oh, it's the law. It's the law of attraction. So,
we're done with the trolls.
So Texas is the most violent place on the planet?
Correct.
It's the law of attraction.
Yep.
So the state of Texas is the most violent place on the planet, right? Like, it makes Afghanistan look like preschool. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not how that works. Huh. Yeah.
Funny story.
Kennesaw, Georgia, where every house is supposed to have a gun in it.
Kennesaw, Georgia is the rule that proves no exceptions.
Exactly. It's the law of attraction. Sure, buddy. Sure. I'm sure that's why, you know what? Okay.
So, Krups, I'd be happy to tell that story on another show. Today, I want to finish up these last DGUs, and we'll talk about craziest self-defense stories on another. I tell you what, if you show up next Friday and ask that same question, I will answer it.
Okay.
And it will involve a man named Leviathan.
Anyhow, so.
Man accused of shooting Dickinson couple was held at gunpoint by neighbors until police arrived. Ooh, I hope this didn't happen in Georgia because you're not allowed to defend yourself in Texas.
That's not true. That's absolutely not true.
Okay, you're not allowed to arrest criminals.
No, if somebody breaks into your house, you're allowed to hold them at gunpoint. Guarantee you Castle Doctrine still applies.
Was held by gunpoint by neighbors until police arrived. That has been explicitly outlawed in Georgia as a result of the Arbery situation. Police in Dickinson say the person accused of opening fire at a married couple is the father of the male victim.
Yikes.
Wow. According to the police, the suspect, Chad Dick, has been charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in connection with the double shooting that happened at about 8:15 Sunday in the 1200 block of Pen Oak Drive. The victims, who police identified as Hillary and George Dick, were taken to HCA Houston Healthcare Clear Lake Hospital. Good Lord. Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta Airport Barbershop and Tire Dispensary, where they were stabilized for their injuries. George was hit in the stomach while Hillary was shot in the arm, police added. In responding to the incident, Dickinson police said they were called to a home where the couple, their 2 children, and the suspect all lived. Officers arrived to find neighbors holding the suspect at gunpoint. Police added the children, who were inside the home when the shooting happened, were not harmed. Investigators are still looking into the motive for the shooting, but they said an altercation or argument took place before the couple was wounded. Wow.
You think?
Yikes. This one,
That's awful. There's really no...
I mean, the only positive thing I can say here is good on these neighbors for stepping in and doing what the law should allow them to do in apprehending the criminal and holding him until the police arrive. That's the best I got for you there. I can't give it a score on the DGU.
I'm sure that neighbor was totally fantasizing about the time he got to watch his neighbors get shot, though.
Oh yeah,
that was
gave him a great big old heart on.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what happened. Anyhow, good guy with a gun does stop a bad guy with a gun every time.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the worst possible scenarios, that's... Anyhow, so moving on. We are way late.
That's the best I got for you today.
That one's mine.
White hats matter. Is it?
That one's mine, you bastard.
Oh, mine's hanging up over there.
Thank you.
Metro teacher fighting to get his job back after shooting man in self-defense.
Wow.
And this is in South Fulton, Georgia. A DeKalb County elementary school teacher wants to get his job back after charges against him for shooting a man were dropped. Roger Mathis says he was forced to shoot his former roommate in self-defense after the man kicked in the door of his South Fulton home in February of last year. Mathis told Channel 2's Taisha Fernandez that he had been trying to evict Terrell Terry for weeks before the shooting. How did we not hear this story before? Terry has been cited for disorderly conduct and violence the same month of the shooting. A judge ordered Terry to return the house keys to Mathis and granted Mathis a protective order. A few days after that hearing, Terry kicked in the teacher's front door. Mathis shot him and was subsequently arrested and charged with aggravated assault. Terry really just played the police officers who didn't run his name and didn't do their due diligence to find out who he was, Mathis said. Mathis lost his teaching job and the state revoked his teaching license. After nearly 2 years of fighting for his freedom, Mathis has finally gotten the charges against him dropped, and he's looking ahead to the future. They should have done an investigation. I had all the proof that he wasn't supposed to be there, but they said they wanted it to play out in court. I'm glad it didn't get that far and that justice prevailed. It just took a long time. So, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the sentiment that justice delayed is justice denied, right? Here you have a case where a criminal, I'm going to take this on face value from what's been described here. It looks like Terry was bad dude, had already done some bad stuff. The police already knew he was a problem. He had already essentially terrorized the roommate enough that the roommate had to seek a protective order and injunctive relief to evict the criminal. Let's be clear. And was forced to defend himself against a person who he already knew to be dangerous from their history together. Right? This is a little different than some random B&E, some random burglar breaking into your house.
I mean, there was a temporary protective order involved?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they still charged him, and he lost a job. 2 years of fighting for his freedom, it says. Nearly 2 years of fighting for his freedom. This man, you're talking about a victim of a criminal, a known criminal,
Well, to be fair,
and his life is ruined.
Temporary protective order doesn't necessarily mean you're a criminal. Those things are really easy to get.
No, agreed. But we have other information here that says he was actually already a criminal. Cited for disorderly conduct and violence the same month of the shooting. Right, the guy's already violent, already a problem that the police are aware of.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are way long. Can we squeeze in that last one?
We can.
Because we're running over. You realize we're running over Scotty's show right now.
Oh no, Scotty's show started like an hour ago. We've been running over it.
Yeah, but it officially starts at 8. Is my understanding.
Okay. And I read the last two, so I'm gonna let you read. I'm gonna ask you to read this one. Wow. I got some ideas about how this one's gonna go.
Mazzola woman's gunshot damaged a fiber optic cable. Outages occurred. Shortly after 10 p.m. on Saturday, Mazzola Police Department officers were dispatched to a report of a gunshot in a residential trailer park. No way. She lives in a trailer park? I thought you're not supposed to judge books by their covers.
Next thing you tell me, you're trying to tell me she smokes menthol cigarettes.
And meth.
No.
The complainant reported the shot came from 2 doors down from him. Officers also made contact with the occupants of the trailer where the shot reportedly came from. A male was inside the trailer and said he and his fiancée had been arguing over an issue with their children. Officers also located 32-year-old Jasmine Giffen in a bedroom. She said she heard arguing but was asleep. Officers also made contact with a male that was attempting to leave the area. He told an officer that he and his brother Giffen's fiancée were fighting, and Giffen fired a single round into the air to get them to stop. Because of the conflicting stories, officers cleared the scene. The original complainant contacted law enforcement again following the following morning. Look, don't fire your gun off into the air. Don't do that, okay? There's no such thing as missing with your gun. You always hit something. The question is, what does the bullet hit? Okay? Anyhow, the original complainant contacted law enforcement again the following morning. He advised he lost internet connection the previous evening. Charter Spectrum Communications advised that a bullet damaged an overhead fiber optic cable near Griffin's address. There was an evident hole in the line. The damaged line was approximately 20 yards from the trailer occupied by Giffen. Detective Lieutenant Eddie McLean explains, an investigation was initially done, but a repair technician located a bullet hole in a fiber optic cable near the residence in questions the following morning, which cut off internet services to customers, McLean said. A subsequent investigation indicated Giffen had fired a handgun in the air when 2 other males were involved in a disturbance in front of her residence. A search warrant was ultimately obtained and officers located a handgun in her residence. She was subsequently arrested for criminal endangerment for firing the firearm in the air. I'm not going to go any further than that. Because, well, I think the point was made, like, don't just randomly fire your gun in the air. Like, there's no such thing as a round that misses. The only question is, what does the round hit? And in this case, the round knocked out the internet to the trailer park. You know, some stories were like, just truth is stranger than fiction, like, every time. Like, if I came to you and said, hey, Chris, I want to do a short comedy sketch about the time the trailer park got knocked out because the brother of the fiancé broke up the argument over the children by firing a gun into the air, but whoops, it actually ended up being the female member of the fiancé couple and not the brother, and just like,
right. And I mean, okay, this is going to end up being the only one we give a score to, and almost the only reason it's going to get a score at all is because I haven't gotten to push a score button today, and that aggravates me. Warning shots, bad habits. Oh, firing firearm in the air. Okay. Go back to the range. You need training. You need all of the training.
Also, Yeah, no, that's... Anyhow, man, we are long as hell. We should probably call it right about there.
I think we're going to have to.
Yep.
All right. It's Friday. We're going into the weekend. Y'all be safe out there. Don't drive drink. Don't fry bacon naked. And for God's sake, never fire a warning shot. We'll see y'all Monday. One last thing. Just one last thing, just real quick. All you guys on Twitch that are watching, even the trolls.
Thanks.
We appreciate you watching. We really do. Hope to see you again next week. And please bring on the trolling. I love to play with them trolls. So y'all be safe out there. Don't get dead.